Hello everybody, this is Chris Bird or Why-kou1313, and this is a completed master set of Black and White Dark Explorers. This set came out in 2012 and is arguably one of the coolest and most broken sets that they made in the Black and White era. Some of the cards in this set are absolutely incredible, and then the full arts and secret rares at the end are all jaw-dropping. I'm very excited to show you those. However, this set means a lot more to me than just the cards in it. Back in 2012, this was the newest set released when I decided to get back into Pokemon. I started in base 1, way at the beginning, and I continued all the way through to the end of the EX era with Power Keepers. Then my interest fizzled. Diamond and Pearl didn't really catch my attention, and the trading cards didn't really catch my attention as a result of that, and so I moved on to other things. StarCraft 2, Rubik's Cubes, YouTube channels, etc. And then in 2012, Pokemon caught my attention again. Black and White had been out for maybe a year and a half at that point, and I was excited to get back into some Pokemon collecting. So, some of the cards in this binder are actually ones that we opened back in the day, and I'm very excited to go through them. So, we're starting off grass types. Black and White era is when we finally decided that we're starting with types instead of starting with rarities. So instead of it being all the holo rares right at the beginning and then the non-holo rares, etc., we start with grass type, and then we move through the types in a predictable order that has continued ever since then. And that is still what we do now. So, you may notice on this first page, we have Venusaur and Leafeon. That already betrays two of the main parts of this set. We have a couple of different starters in here, and then we have all of the evolutions. So, let's get through this set and start taking a look. Alrighty. So, on the first flip, we can see that we have EXs in this set. This was a strangely new invention for the Pokemon TCG at this point, because of course during the EX era we had all the silver bordered EXs, and then with Diamond and Pearl base we just kind of gave up on EXs. We decided we weren't going to have them anymore, and so we moved on to other types of Pokemon, level X. And then we did Primes, and then we kind of just stopped doing anything. And so Black and White base, up until the set before Next Destinies, did not have any EXs. The only thing it had was the kind of neat full art non-EX cards at the end of the set, of which most of those sets had two. Alright, so we got half arts back. This is the second set that the half arts came back in, and that, of course, is very nice for collectors, because these cards, especially from Gen 5, look absolutely incredible. This set features a lot of legendary Pokemon. I just showed you the Entei here, and now we have the Kyogre, another beautiful card. And I'll point out another starter, Blaziken, down here, and we got Piplup. So that means on this next page, we have Empoleon. Hopefully I remember to get back to Empoleon later, because I have some TCG meta stuff to mention about him. Alright, right after this Jolteon, let's pull out the Why-kou EX half art. Another fantastic card. You may have noticed we just finished the water section. We showed off Entei in fire and Why-kou now in electric. There is no Suicune in this set. No Suicune anywhere to be found. And that will be even more confusing when we get to the full arts at the end. Alright, let's keep on going through. We got two more beautiful EXs here. We got this Groudon EX. And this particular Groudon EX we picked up from Stefan here in a local show. And he had two copies of this guy. One of them was really messed up. And it was the first one we found. We didn't notice he had a second one. And we were about to buy a fairly messed up one because we hadn't seen a copy of this for like 7 months. Turns out he had a second one in near mint, which is the one I'm holding now, and we ended up paying a much higher price for it, but it was worth it based on condition alone. Absolutely beautiful art there. Alright, skipping over a few of the fighting types here, and getting right here to Darkrai EX. So, I would like to draw your attention not only to the incredible artwork on this card, but the ability Dark Cloak. Each of your Pokemon that has any dark energy attached to it has no retreat cost. Huh. Convenient, because this guy has 2 retreat, which is quite a lot in the Pokemon TCG land. So, this went toe-to-toe with Floatstone Keldeo, and so you didn't need to add those extra cards into your deck in order to have some really nice free retreating, and that meant you could get out of things like Hypnotoxic Laser really easily. This Night Spear attack, 3 for 90, very solid attack, and it does 30-20 your opponent's benched Pokemon, and you know, with a little bit of picking and choosing and making some smart choices, you can actually put your opponent in a really difficult spot with this guy. So this guy was all over the meta. It was a deck on its own, and it was really a force to be reckoned with. Alright, moving right along, we are now into the steals and the colorlesses here. not too much to point out here in terms of playability, but some absolutely beautiful cards here. All right, next page is the rest of the colorless with this Tornadus EX here. This is one of the EXs that we pulled back in the day when the set came out, and I actually tried to play with this guy in some decks. It was okay. It's not bad, but, you know, interesting to try and make your own decks and play with the cards that you got. So, very nice card here. Definitely not as exciting as some of the other EXs, but I still like it for nostalgia reasons. Very cute Eevee here, but I need to point out some of these trainers. So this trainer, Dark Patch, attach a basic dark energy from your discard pile to one of your benched dark Pokemon. That, along with the Darkrai EX, is just kind of a very, very strong combo there. So you get to recycle your dark energies from your Pokemon that have died. Dark Claw lets your dark Pokemon do 20 more damage. All the meanwhile, you're doing what every other deck is doing, which is running 4N and 4 Juniper to keep your deck mowing along. So lots of access to lots of good stuff. Throw in some enhanced hammers to mess up with your opponent's special energies, and you've got yourself a meta-defining deck. Awesome. Okay, so after this flip, we are going to be getting into the big stuff, and the big stuff is the most exciting in the set. Here we are. Compared to modern sets, this is a small number of hits, but compared to older sets, this is a lot of hits. Like I had mentioned, Black-White base, we didn't even have EXs at the end. We had one secret rare, and we had two, like, full art non-EX Pokemon. So this had a lot of hits. Of course, Rare Candy and Ultra Ball are still broken. Looking forward to the Plasma Freeze Master set Monday for you guys, by the way, because the Golden Ultra Ball in that set is absolutely insane. But let's pull out each of these full art, glorious Gen 5 EXs, and we can take a nice little look. So, as I mentioned, we had collected these back in the day, and we were also attending Fanime yearly back at that time, and Entei EX. Beautiful card. We found this in the Merchant's Alley, or Merch Hall, in Fanime, and we bought it for about 50 bucks, which at the time was obnoxious, and why would you spend that much money on Pokemon cards? They're literally just shiny cardboard. But of course, that accidentally turned out to be a very good decision if we only cared about value. But since we're now collecting all English Pokemon cards, it was very nice to have this guy from very early on. Absolutely love the textures. I love the gold outlines, and I'm going to point that out for all these cards. Just letting you know now, I'm going to point out the golden outlines on every single one of these full art cards. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. All right, so there's Entei. You'll notice Why-kou, but no Suicune. Again, why Entei Why-kou, but no Suicune? Very interesting. I wish I had an answer to that. All right, Kyogre EX Full Art. Another one of the fantastic Full Art EXs in this set. We got this one from Cloud Chase Collectibles here in the Bay Area, and this is a fantastic condition version of the card. If I can get my camera to not autofocus on the background, look at that texture up there in the top right. Really swirly water feeling in there. And then we got this kind of like Pokemon existent texture here, where how do you really add texture to a Pokemon that's supposed to be smooth canonically? And I think they did a great job of that by adding this texture. Wow, the autofocus is not great right now, but that's okay. So lots of really nice texture here in the white area of the body, and that has continued on for the rest. Very nice. All right, Why-kou EX. Another beautiful card, another one of the legendary cats. They're actually based off of cats, not off of dogs. A lot of people call them the legendary dogs, but this is based off of a saber-toothed cat. So all of them are legendary cats. Hopefully I didn't just ruin anything for you guys. Absolutely glorious Why-kou art here. Very nice. Again, I love the textures. I love the gold borders. These cards just really hit for me in terms of being incredible, incredible cards. All right. One of the biggest of the EXs here is the Full Art Groudon EX. Not only is this Pokemon extremely cool, but the texture in the background really makes it look like it's in a cave, and these texture lines work incredibly well with relatively polygonal shapes. So we've got really just hard, flat surfaces here, and those are really shown off by the texture in this card. We actually bought this card graded and cracked it out. You know, sometimes it just makes sense. You can get incredible near mint cards for much lower prices if you crack it out of a slab. You know, if PSA is not feeling great that day, or, you know, you have a Beckett graded card that is not worth nearly as much as PSA, you can get some incredible cards that you just crack out of slabs. So, as a lot of other people say, buy the card, not the grade, and I take that to the next level where I buy the card and then get rid of the grade in a lot of cases. So, absolutely beautiful card. we ended up trading our Japanese Blastoise EX promo for this guy. They were relatively similar values at the time, and ours had come back from grading as a 9. So we traded that over for this guy. Very, very nice. Picked this up at Westgate Card Show here in town. All right, the biggest and most important full art EX in this set is the Darkrai EX. Not only do a lot of people love Darkrai, but also this card was the obscenely playable one, and so finding good quality copies of these now is even harder. You can imagine, back when these cards were not worth a ton, 10 to 15 bucks each maybe, 20 bucks, people would run these in their decks. They'd shuffle with them, they would maybe even riffle shuffle if they're insane, and just from playing the game a lot with these guys, they get moved around and beaten up a little bit, and you get a lot of whitening on the edges. Even in sleeves, surprisingly enough. But this card, in absolutely glorious condition. A fun little story about this is the card show that we found this at, we were kind of humming and hawing about whether we wanted this card, given its obscene price tag at the time. And we decided, you know what, we haven't seen this in like 9 months, we'll just pick this guy up. So we picked it up, knowing, we're almost never going to see this card again. We turn the corner, and about 4 vendors later, we find another guy with this card. Luckily, that card was in like HP condition, of course for way less money because of that, but we are very lucky that we snagged this near mint copy for ourselves. And even though we did just immediately see another copy of it later. Very, very nice indeed. I absolutely love the texture and the art on this card. Finally, Tornadus EX. We pulled this ourselves way back in the day. Again, very cool card, but not as sought after as some of these other older legendary Pokemon that people were really excited for. So even though this guy was a Gen 5 legendary and it was supposed to be what everyone's excited about, turns out people like the older legendaries more. Surprise, surprise. Okay, so those are the 6 full art EXs from this set, and now as you can see we have 3 secret rares. These secret rares feature some incredible Pokemon and a texture design down here. In this case, that is the eye symbol, which is the psychic symbol, textured into the attacks of the cards. And then up here, we can see Gardevoir. And it's not just any old Gardevoir, this is shiny Gardevoir. So, secret rare, lots of texture, and it is the shiny version of the Pokemon, as you'll see with every single other secret rare from Black and White. Very, very nice indeed. Absolutely love this card. The guy we bought this from also gave us, but we also bought, I think, a Mega Evolutions booster bundle from, and that was fun to open. Very, very nice indeed. We bought this one raw, by the way. We did not crack a slab for this guy. Next up, second to last, Archeops. You can probably guess between Gardevoir and Archeops which ones people are more excited for, but I will let you decide that. Again, it has the fighting symbol textured in the bottom. Trying to get my camera to show that off as well as I can. Very nice. And then you, of course, get the Pokemon textured up here. And I don't think this one has it. It doesn't. But behind the picture on the back of the card for some of these, the way that they created the card accidentally imprinted some of the texture for the card here on the back behind the art. If you want to see one, you can go back to our... we have the texture errored Embor. And so you'll just see like a perfect rectangle on the back with some funky white lines in it. That is a printing error. That is not a mishandling issue. All right, and then the last card in the main set is one of the most powerful trainers at the time, Pokemon Catcher. And similar to the Darkrai, because of that, there are not a ton of copies of these out there in near mint. They were played in decks. And if we go ahead and read this effect, switch your opponent's active Pokemon with one of his or her benched Pokemon. Well, way back in base set, we had Gust of Wind, very powerful card, and this card was so good that at the time it was played as a 3 or 4 of in every single deck, because you could pull out your opponent's Pokemon EX that had only a little bit of HP left and snipe it off for the victory. But on top of that, you could also pull out their basics that they need to evolve into stage 2s and snipe them when they're only at 60 HP or so. And this card was so powerful that they needed to nerf it, or errata it, where now it had to be a result of a winning coin flip, which immediately made this card significantly less played. No surprises there, no surprises at all. You can see the net kind of coming out the side, and the normal Pokemon Catcher, Art, has this as blue and silver here. So they even made the item shiny when they gave it the secret rare version. And for items and trainers, down here you get the Pokeball textured icon rather than the type. Because What Pokemon type is a Pokemon catcher? Maybe the type of the Pokemon you catch with it? I don't know. But yeah, so we get the Pokemon textured symbol down there. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. All right, so Master Set Monday. That is the entire main set, but it's not a Master Set without the reverses. So let's turn the page and we will quickly go through these guys. Like I mentioned before, we have all the evolutions in this set and a couple of nice starters. I wanted to pull out this Slowbro and Slowpoke because I quite like these arts. The cards themselves aren't like incredibly powerful or anything, but I just like the art that was done for both of these cards. You know, Slowpoke generally lazing around, and this time he's lazing around but looking to the side. Ooh, clever art indeed. All right, continuing on, I wanted to pull out the Empoleon, which is right here. Oops, thought it was on the other page. This Empoleon was pretty good at the time, in the TCG that is, because its diving draw ability, once during your turn before you attack, you may discard a card from your hand and draw 2. Discard, draw 2, sounds fantastic to me. Dex ran Ultra Ball at the time, intending to get value out of the discard needed when you search for your deck for a Pokemon of some sort, so there were a lot of cards at the time that you were happy to discard, and so Diving Draw was very powerful. Then Attack Command, 1 energy for 10 damage times the number of Pokemon in play, both yours and your opponent's. So if your opponent has a full bench, which most often they did, and if you have a full bench, this is 1 energy for 120 damage. That is a pretty powerful attack indeed. Okay, let's keep on going through the reverses. I'll point out anything specifically interesting. You know, some more evolutions here with Jolteon and Espeon. Oh, and Glaceon up there, can't forget. Keep on going. You'll notice that there's no Darkrai EX or any EXs here because they don't make reverse hollows of EXs. I do really like how the reverse pattern on dark type Pokemon work because it's really hard to see unless you're like specifically looking for it, and then when you can see it, you can really only see the lines that are intentionally lit up at the moment. So very, very cool indeed. All right, let us flip through the rest of this set. We're into the colorless or normal type Pokemon here. And now we're back at the trainers again for a full master set of Black and White Dark Explorers. This set is incredible. It's the set that we got back into Pokemon on way back when, and it's absolutely glorious. What is your favorite card from the set, and what sets would you like to see in the future? Let me know in the pinned comment below, and I will see you guys next time.